We're here at the University Archives, where every issue of the Whit that has ever been published is right there in that room behind me. And we are going through every single issue starting in 1938. The Whit hasn't been around 100 years. We're doing this to celebrate Rowan being around for 100 years and putting together a special edition Centennial of the newspaper that covers its entire history. So yeah, we're in the scanning process of the archives. We decided to put it to the Whit editors at a meeting and say, hey, who wants to be a part of this project? We've broken it down into phases, so this is phase one, the scanning of old issues, and that's Victoria Shriver-McGivern, editor-in-chief, Gianna Malgeri, the news editor, Maddie Miller, who is co-news editor and then will be full-time news editor in the spring, and one Mr. Drew Peltzman doing the multimedia stuff.
A former editor of the Whit was drafted.
Oh. When we first sat down to talk about it, I think my first thought was like, this is a lot. But it'll be worth it. The more we kind of got into like the nitty-gritty about like what it's gonna take and like the process and the, coming up with a plan for phases started to get me more excited.
And it was really hard not to spend like 20 or 30 minutes per paper just because there's so much interesting material there.
Evenly represents like just kind of
Yeah,
the behavior of just different young people, and it's interesting to see that has like carried over even like 50, it's like 80 years later.
I'm confident now. I feel like we're on task. I think it's going to be critical that we keep the pace going and that we are fastidious about documenting what we've got, uploading what we've got, because the summer will slip away real fast if we blink.
Internally, I was just like freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is exciting, this is gonna be great. I'm so honored to be part of this, but also there's a part of me that I was just like so nervous because I'm like, how are we gonna pull this off? Like, and especially in a leadership position, like how do I like do this? Like this is like my first big task as editor-in-chief, so I was nervous.
What milestone did we just...
We just completed box one, so yay!
Empty
So
box
excited.
one.
Yeah.
My favorite part, I would definitely have to say, is when I found that telegraph that JFK wrote to a Rowan professor because of the work that Rowan students were doing in Uganda.
That is insane, what these students have done.
With this project, yes, it's a smaller group of people, but I still am responsible for making sure it's moving forward, moving along.
We thought we had like 2, and then we came in today and there is 11 more boxes that we have to sort through, and we only have one more session before we can't come for a week. So we called up like every single Whit editor and regular writer that we knew, and we got all the people in the room to do scans. We got through like 10 boxes in like 4 days.
How are we going to identify what is more valuable than others in a given time where we were not alive, weren't even close to being alive? It was a whole different world.
The first thing we had to decide was what the sections were going to be in the paper.
The problem is that wartime doesn't like naturally flow like in and out of everything.
Then after this, where do we want to go after like letters of the editor and opinion?
SGA. All of them are about that.
Yeah, we can go into this and group this together. This needs to come in by this time.
When we amassed the total amount of scans that we had, we realized that we were going to have to do a lot of cutting down and eliminating stuff that we didn't think was relevant to this story that we were trying to portray for the university.
We could do half a page like our little blurb and then like graphics
on that first page. Keep in mind that even though we have this many scans in each folder, we are not using every single one, and we might get in there and be like, okay, there's 50 scans in here, but there's only really 20 worth publishing once you kind of look at everything you have.
Storyboarding is so important because organization truly is the key to success. I had to get everything up somewhere that I could see it because I had so many ideas floating around in my head that I felt like we couldn't accurately attack the next phase until we did the back work to get organized.
I know, I literally feel like I'm like, these are like note cards.
No, me with my note cards.
I like it though on the thing because I feel like I'm like erase, add, and erase.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you know what this says. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I can't read this.
I get it.
Having everything visually in front of us was a great guideline because we didn't have to adhere to the storyboard, but it was there for an idea.
It really became important to us to recognize what each other's strengths were so that we could maximize our productivity. So for example, Drew and Owen had a way better understanding of US history, so Owen and Drew paired up to plan out the wartime pages, whereas Maddie and I naturally paired up and attacked Rowan News.
We had certain people cropping stuff in Photoshop, getting it ready for InDesign.
We had to figure out what was going to be the difference between something that was good and something that was great. Spending the extra time, use Photoshop to edit out a little imperfection or to make sure that the words on the page are perfectly straight and in line with each other, really started to encourage us to keep pushing through that last mile. At the point at which we followed our storyboarding plans and created all the pages, we felt good about it, but I couldn't shake the fact that the unevenness or all the little tiny imperfections was getting in the way of what was on the page.
Maybe this, since it's a spinner, we can move this up here so we can expand that.
Yes, that's a great idea. Is it still crooked? Can't tell.
It doesn't look crooked to me.
Okay. Drew, what do you think? Does this look crooked?
No, that looks good.
But I wouldn't
Go past that.
I wouldn't know because the fold and the ink wet, it probably would look bad.
Okay.
It might smear.
Oh, good. Okay, good point.
I was really excited for DiLeo to see it because by the time he got his eyes on it, so much had changed since the last time he had seen it. So, and it was almost at its final stages. It was the first real feedback we got from someone who's on the outside that we trust.
Hey! My people! So good to see you all. Oh my god. So, is this, like, this is the whole thing here?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know what to say. This storyboarding idea was such a good way to go. Like, because I feel like before you did this, everything was just, you know, like, what the hell?
It wrapped around. It wrapped. Wait, let's see the top.
There's so much stuff here, and if they don't stay organized and like rigorously document everything and date things and label things. Like we had the whole labeling conversation, like we need uniformity in labels. Like, and you've done all that, like you did it.
Oh my gosh. She's alive, she's real. Oh my gosh.
It's literally real. All right. Oh my gosh.
Wow. It looks really good.
It does.
It is a beautiful collection of history from our college, and not only that, but it was painstaking hours of work that no one will ever understand how hard we worked on this. All that matters is that they enjoy it.
I think that it'll be really cool for people to really understand how far the school has come within the past 100 years and to understand how much history is within the campus that we walk around every day.
So when people see this project, I hope that they feel differently about Rowan and realize that this culture that you experience today is something that's being cultivated for 100 years. And we would be nothing without every little moving piece that has been a part of Rowan University's operation from day one.
How these sports look at that. Oh my gosh, this looks amazing.
It is with great honor that I would like to present to you all a special edition of the newspaper, the Rowan University Centennial Edition, through thousands of archives that date back to the Whit's founding in 1938. Decades now, the Whit continues to be a pillar at the university. If it weren't for the generations of dedicated student journalists and faculty, Rowan would have no documentation or story to tell. What you hold now is a piece of history. Inside these pages are the lives, stories that have shaped Rowan into what it is today. Every article, graphic, and picture has life to it.